Good day, everyone. In part one, the last video, we talked about what to do when life stops making sense, when there's confusion, when you're disoriented, when you're not sure how to navigate, and you're unsure of what's next. We talked about how it's your responsibility to seek, which means directing your attention and your energy specifically in order to use this hidden equation for life. In today's video, we're going to specifically address where this seeking is taking place. Welcome to All Is Within. If it feels like the scripts and the rules that you've been living life by just don't seem to be cutting it, then you're in the right place. In part one, we looked at this verse that's on the board, Matthew 6:33, but seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. And if this is of concern to you at this point, since it's a Bible verse, just remember the Bible is very ancient text, and it comes from even older text than that. But let's take that overlay away from it right now and allow ourselves to be with this, because this is a beautiful universal law that is available to us. We broke this verse down into the hidden equation for life. Seek ye first. What? What is it that we're supposed to seek? The kingdom of God and his righteousness. And the result is that all of these things shall be added unto you. We've already looked at part one a little bit. Now we're going to dive in to part two, the kingdom of God and his righteousness. Let's go back as a quick remembrance of last part one. To seek is to take and to put our attention in a particular place. If you're looking for something, you have to take your attention and focus it there, right? If you're seeking something, it's the same thing. Notice how today, then, that we live in the information age and everything is constantly vying for our attention. We get notifications constantly about things, right? Everybody has access to us almost all the time, 24/7. We can't even pump gas at the car anymore without having a video screen that is showing us news or ads or whatever. And on social media, we find ourselves scrolling because they're engineered to keep our attention. Because what they've realized is that our attention, where our attention goes, our energy goes. And our attention and our energy is a valuable commodity. We are told to look out there in the world around us, right, for all of the answers that we seek, be it looking at our job, looking for hope in a relationship, looking at religion, looking at government or family or whatever it is. But what they haven't told you is that the real truth, the answers don't necessarily exist out there. Because the answers that you seek are not separate from you. Today, we're going to look at the kingdom of God and his righteousness. This is part two of this equation, right? Before we put these pieces together. Now, there's a lot of loaded things in this kingdom of God and his righteousness. And so I want to take a step back and I want to look at those first. We're going to break those down so that we can actually understand what they are saying. Because if we don't understand these pieces, how can we use and apply this equation in our life? So many of us were taught, including myself, that the kingdom of God exists out there somewhere in the future, right? Or maybe when Jesus returns, it's a specific place, a physical place. And I was taught that it's called the kingdom and that it says his righteousness because God is a male. He's like this big old man sitting on a throne, long beard, long white hair, right? All powerful. Oh, I am God and I sit in judgment, right? But are these teachings truth? That's the question we have to ask ourselves. Couple of things to remember. Now, the Bible was written in a patriarchal time when a patriarchal structure existed. So we end up with a male form of the language because that would give the characters of the story, the characters of the message, more validity and more authority in that particular society and culture. So use of the verbiage such as kingdom or his does not necessarily indicate that God is male. Now, when I say the word kingdom, what do you feel? What do you think? Right? For me, I think instantly of a male or a man because it's king, not queendom. I think that the place is ruled over by a king, that it's the territory of the king. In other words, it's also a physical location. But really, none of this is accurate. The original Greek word for kingdom is translated from basileia. And that word primarily refers to the act of ruling, to reign as God, rule, sovereignty, authority of God. And basileia appears approximately 160 times in the New Testament, where it is describing a condition or a state of being, a reality. It is not a place, it is not a locale. Now that we've looked at the word kingdom, let's take a look at the word God. The Greek word is theou from theos, Theos. And in the Greek lexicons that are used to translate the Greek that the New Testament was written in, the Greek lexicons define theos as divine being, God, supernatural, deity, creator, source, one God, supreme God. But it's interesting that the lexicons do not denote God as external in any way. So here we're looking at the kingdom of God in relation to Matthew 6:33 in this equation for life. But I want to take a look now at Luke 17:21, because that'll give us some more key insights to this. Jesus is speaking, and he says, "Neither shall they say, lo here or lo there, for behold, the kingdom of God is within you." Did you hear that? It's within you. These are Jesus's words. He's not saying it's out there. He's saying the kingdom of God, whether you are in a male body or a female body, doesn't matter. The kingdom of God is within you. And it gets so much better than just that. So this is where we are being told to seek. Seek first the kingdom of God. Well, where do we seek? Where do we direct our attention, our energy? Within ourselves. And that's a beautiful thing. Now, some will argue that the use of within here is a mistranslation of the Greek word entos, E-N-T-O-S. And it should be translated as some of the newer versions translate it as among or in the midst of, so that it says that the kingdom of God is among you or in the midst of you. However, the Greek lexicons that are used for biblical translations defines entos as inside or within. So it's inside or within. And in fact, entos, E-N-T-O-S, is only used 2 times in the New Testament. Here in Luke 17:21, where Jesus clearly states the kingdom of God is within you. And in Matthew 23:26, where Jesus proclaims, blind Pharisee, first clean the inside of the cup, and then also the outside will be clean. Now, there's a lot loaded in that, but we're not going to dive into that right now. But the use of entos in Matthew 23:26, it's translated as inside. So the 2 times it's used in the New Testament, it is using inside and within, which is exactly what the lexicons state. It's also curious that we are regarded in the New Testament, that our bodies are regarded as vessels, i.e., cups. These are called our temples. And who resides in the temple? The divine God. All right? Now, I want to bring out a point here. I want to bring up the omnipresence of God, because some people will argue with what I've just put out there, even though it's doctrinally sound, or however you want to state that. But a central doctrine or belief of mainstream Christianity is the omnipresence of God. It means that God is everywhere. He is all present, right? Yet some will argue that being all present doesn't mean that That means within. But omnipresent does mean, it means you're within everything. You're without everything. You're part of everyone. You're part of everything. It is the Creator imbued and alive in all that is. So going back to the equation, we've made it through seek ye first. We've made it through the kingdom of God. And now, if we wanted to reword this, we can say seek ye first the kingdom of God. What did we learn about the kingdom? What did we learn about God? It is within you. And we could reword this to say something such as seek first the divine authority within or inside you. Seek first the creator, the supernatural, the divine within or inside you. So we know where to look now. Now let's get to his righteousness here, because this is the second part of this piece. Righteousness, when you hear that word, when I hear it, I immediately think of right versus wrong. That there is a moral judgment, some moral superiority thing going on here that is good versus evil. This is very black versus white thinking. But that's not what righteousness actually means. It's not even close. The Greek word translated into righteousness is dikaiosune. Dikaiosune. And is defined in the Greek lexicon as equity of character or of act, or the quality or state of uprightness, justice, fairness, often in the sense of being in proper relationship. And the one I love the most is the state of him who is as he ought to be. And I really like that, because the state of him who is as he ought to be, or the state of her who is as she ought to be, is very much in line with all is within. And some of my mantras about living in the truth of who you are. Righteousness isn't about right or wrong in some far off God's eyes. It's about alignment. It's about remembering. Alignment with your truth, alignment with your inner voice, alignment with the state of who you ought to be, with who you truly are. In other words, alignment with the divine. Because the kingdom of God exists within you. You are coming in to seek that out and to align with that kingdom of God, to remember the truth of who you are in that. And this is what I'm reminding myself of daily at this point. There's no need for me to figure it out, to work out up here. What's next? No, it's about me going back to this equation when I'm unsure and I feel like gravitating back to my old life, the old 9 to 5. I bring myself back to this, to seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness. Seek the divine within and align to the frequency of the divine within. And here's the beautiful thing. When you add part 1 and you add part 2 together, you get the promise, the guarantee that all these things shall be added unto you. A universal law. But what are all of these things? And how does this actually work in practice? So we can do this in our own lives whenever we need. Well, that's what we're going to break down in part 3. So I hope that you'll come back and you'll join me on that. I want to thank you for watching today. There was a lot here, so please go back and rewatch. Take some notes if you need to. Share this with a friend. And as always, so you don't miss out on the next video in the series here, please subscribe. Hit that like button, and if you have any comments, I would love to hear from you. And as always, blessings and love to each of you.